Hey everybody, welcome back to the Blender 3D Punchbomb game development live stream. I'm going to be working on detailing up this robot. This is where we left off last time, so I'm just going to hop back on and I guess I'll start detailing him up. First things first, just a plain old circle is pretty boring, so I'm going to go ahead and work on that. Let's add some weird extrusions and stuff. Like so. Bridge that. Make a face there. Make a face there. Make the whole thing beveled. Alright. Now the other side. Which adding the bevels just helps it catch light in a weird way. You can actually do that with a baked normal map too, but my poly counts aren't really high enough to worry about that. We'll inset that and just add some more technology intrudes. Again, none of this has any functional purpose at all. It just looks cool. And if anybody ever has any questions or anything, feel free to ask them in the chat. And these edges don't need to be beveled, because they're just the inset there. And then let's give them like a nice light kind of thing. So we can extrude. Oh, let's go ahead and how do we want to do this? If we extrude that and scale it like so, that'll give the players a nice target to aim for if we decide to go that route. Which, if you don't have it, Hard Ops is pretty much the best add-on for Blender ever. It makes life so easy. Like, I can just edit the bevels like this, which is really nice. Already more interesting. Now we need some wires coming off of it, I think. So let's add those coming off this extrusion that we ended up with here. And I have never really been big into the curve tool, but lately I've been using it a lot. So we'll scale this down, put it right in here, rotate this, scale Y 0 first, then rotate it 90 degrees to get a nice 90-degree angle there. Scale that in, bring this guy up. Let's bring that over. Okay, so that'll give us a neat wire. Maybe even bring this guy up and extrude him down some. Just to get a sharper angle. And same with this guy, except we'll just subdivide it. So that'll give us some interesting wire routing, which can add some interest. Again, none of this, and I guess the functional purpose of this would be to power up his energy core, but who actually cares? It just needs to look cool. We don't want to go too high on poly count because the player's never really going to get close enough to see this even. And we can even turn this down a lot. Something like that, just until the curve is good. Duplicate it up. Except we're gonna Alt-D, which is make an instance of it. So now if we modify this one, it modifies both. Then we'll Shift D this one, and we're gonna offset the scale a little bit. So that looks kind of cool. And we can probably even since this was an instance, when I changed the origin, it offset it, so I'm just going to delete it temporarily since I didn't know where it ended up. Then we'll make another instance here. This way we can rotate these a little bit. I almost liked them better when they were straight lines. What do you all think? Huh. That's a tough call. And let's see what it looks like if we mirror it across. Or maybe have one side fanned out and one side not. Like maybe right side fanned out, left side not. Something like that. That's kind of cool. Okay, so then we're going to need to add connections just because you can't have wires going in somewhere without having connections for them. So we will Alt-C to make a mesh from curve. And then we're going to join all of these. And you'll notice that this side looks fine, this side looks darker. That's because the normals got flipped. And there's a really easy way to fix that. And that is to just select everything and hit Control N, and that'll make normals face outward. So now we need to do some cleanup here and eliminate some edge loops, which these are all pretty much straight, so they're completely unnecessary. And same with these ones. We can actually just go ahead and select all of the straight ones. We really only need the corner edge loops. And get rid of these. And just throw them all out in the garbage. That one's pretty straight. Great, and then we can clean up this side too. So anything that's straight we can just get rid of. Because saving on poly counts in the engine is, like I said, my game's not so complicated that I really need to. It's just any optimizations you can make for VR are not bad optimizations. And how I'm doing this is hitting space. Space brings up whatever the last thing you did was, or you can type in a new thing. So delete edge loop. And then if I hit space, delete edge loop will be the next thing on the list. So that's cleaned that up. That's pretty interesting looking. Now let's add some cylinders for connections. And these don't need to be complicated at all, like maybe 12 vertices. As again, they're going to be pretty tiny relative to the rest of the robot. Move that in. Not quite so much. Make sure it lines up nicely. Just having some sort of connection, it's the small details that really count for selling something. Because if you just have wires intersecting with the mesh, it just doesn't look right. Since we didn't have enough vertices, hard ops set all of those to sharp. And then also for games, you don't need interior faces, so we can just delete that one. And then I think we can move this in a little bit, like so. And then everything gets converted to tris later, so we're going to go ahead and triangulate it. As in engine, you'd rather do the tris yourself than let the engine guess, because the engine can give you some pretty wonky results. Beautiful. Now we have some nice connections there. We can probably even make these a little bit more pronounced. So we can link the object data. This is cylinder 33. This is exactly the same as making an instance. It's just using the same object data. So scale shift Y to scale only on X and Z, and that'll make nice pronounced connections. And we can duplicate this over, and since these are in different places, I can't just duplicate across and mirror. Beautiful. That will work. Except we lost our instancing in case we decide to change these. Oh hey, what's up, Tails Gaming? I'm working on my VR game. Just for a couple hours here. I gotta work on the boss, which looks like this. So right now I'm just detailing him up. Alright, so now I have some cool wire connections. We can actually move this one in some. Yeah, I spent the past year and a half working on a VR game where you punch things. So now I'm working on the boss battle, which he's got some cool robot hands that punch you. Alright, so that's all detailed up. We can add more detail later, but I think we can segment up the chest a little bit. So we'll split that just to add some interest, and then we'll rough it up a little bit by, like, I don't know. Oh, I forgot these were here. That's going to make things difficult. Never mind on that. And the main other thing that really needs detailing is going to be the legs and the hands and then the joint connections. So I'll go ahead and do the joint connections here. So one connection will be coming from the center, one will be connected to the interior, so it looks like a joint that actually rotates. And we can probably actually scale this guy in some. Which we can scale you. Oh. Yeah, we'll just yeah, we'll just drag it in. It doesn't even matter. And then we'll move it back up. Don't have to be perfect or anything, it just needs to be rotated in the correct orientation for when we rig it later. So we'll add some curves again. For connections, we'll rotate it 90 degrees, put it right here to connect with. Put the other one in here where no one can see it. Except we're going to need two vertices here to have a nice corner. So we'll put that right in there like that. And same goes for this, for the corner. It's just nice to have the extra vertices. So that's one connection. We'll even tighten it up a little bit. And then we will make it an actual object. So this is going to look so much cooler than it did a few seconds ago. Alright, so we have one connection down for joints. Then we need one coming this way, which I think we can actually take these edges and give it more room. And then we'll just add a cylinder. And we'll give this one 16 vertices because it's a little bit bigger than the wires. Something like that, maybe. Sometimes axes can be a little bit tricky. So now we'll rotate you back. And now those joints are properly connected. Wonderful. So then we're going to take the hand joint, which we'll go ahead and empty out the hand, which we can't do because that's a group, so we'll do that later actually. But let's make this a little bit more pronounced. We can take these and just scale them up based on their normals, which is Alt-S. And then we can make the palm a little bit shallower to add cool joint connections there when we get there. But let's take this in some. And then we'll add some nice Bezier curves. And for anyone interested in the Fortnite stream, we're going to be streaming Fortnite again tomorrow. Tonight I'm only here for a little bit because I got places to be. Again, nobody's ever going to see that when it's in there, so we'll just put it far enough to hide it. Doesn't have to actually connect to anything. And just enough so where it looks like a cool connection. We do not need even close to that many vertices, and we'll clean it up here in a little bit. Hey, Michelle Serpent. I have no idea how to pronounce her name, but how's it going? Yeah, I'm just live streaming, working on my game. Alright, so we think we can move the hand in a little bit, and then that'll give us some room for some cool joint connections, which we'll go ahead and do. I have the hand in a group because it's so much bigger right now, but we will just delete... First we'll delete all these faces to hollow it out, and I have a solidify on so it'll still look cool. Well, I don't know. I just figure that if I'm going to be working on my game, I might as well live stream it so people can keep up with the progress since it's in early access. So, whether people are here or not, it's still fun, but it's nice to have people to talk to. But this is a cool trick, by the way. If you have hard ops installed into Blender and you have just a plane, but you still want you want to use a solidify modifier to bevel it, you can apply hard ops first, then add solidify, and then put the solidify before the bevel and set the edges to be hard ops edges. And you still get the bevel, but that way you only have to work with one plane to make a curve, which is really convenient, and I do it a lot. Alright, so we have room for the joint. Let's make sure it's in the right place. We probably actually want this to be straight up and down, so we'll go ahead and do that. And it might make things a little bit messy, but there are going to be fingers and stuff, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's just see if it even matches up. It does! Cool. So now we have a nice intersection for our joint there, for the hand to rotate around. I don't know if we need to add a connection there or not. We'll get to that later if it needs to be a thing. And if the hands don't match up, we can just move them a little bit, because right now they're not really in place. Yeah, nice. Let's go ahead and keep doing joints. Oh, I'm jealous. Pizza sounds so good, but I went on a cruise recently and I gained a decent amount of weight, so I'm really watching my diet right now. Okay, so this is connected already. We did that last time. And then let's add a connection to the arm. So we might actually need to make this part bigger to make room for it. Which is totally fine. He'll just be a more muscular robot. And all this is mirrored across, so we don't have to worry about it too much. Straighten that out a little bit, make it match up. Bring this into here. Which again, nobody's ever really gonna see inside the arms. If I test the game and they do, then I'll just add more stuff later. It's the beautiful thing about doing anything on the computer. You can always fix it later. It's that whole visual effects mantra of fix it in post. We'll subdivide it just so we can get this a little bit curvier. So that looks like a pretty cool connection. Let's go ahead and turn it into an actual wire again. And again, we don't need nearly that many vertices. So I'll just take that down a bit, and we'll remove more later after we convert it to mesh when we get into the unwrapping, which will probably be the next video. I don't have that long, and unwrapping this guy for texturing and substance is going to take a really long time. So take that, mirror it across the y-axis, drag it in here, and adjust it. And we have that joint connection. Cool. The joint connections are definitely adding some nice detail on this guy. We can apply the location of these things and then just add a mirror modifier. Oh. That's not good. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so these joints got offset somehow. They are not in the center. So we'll recenter those up, and then we'll adjust things. Like so. And also here. Which this isn't really much of a tutorial in the terms of the traditional sense. It's just more about showing game workflow and stuff. And unfortunately, the sad truth of working on any 3D project is you don't get it perfect straight out of the gate. There's always going to be issues that you have to overcome, which is sort of what makes working in CG so much fun. Like, it would be pretty boring if everything was just super easy. Okay, so that's all properly connected now. And that's all mirrored. And let's also go ahead and mirror these. I think there's a hotkey for mirror, I just don't know what it is. So anybody knows what the hotkey for mirror is, feel free to help me out here. But cool. Let's go ahead and detail up this joint here. Yeah, what's up, Atticus? I'm just, some days I'm going to be streaming Blender, some days I'm going to be streaming Fortnite. But this is progress on my VR game I've been working on. It's called Punch Bomb. It's a VR game where you punch things. It's in early access on Steam right now, so I just decided to start streaming progress on it to keep myself focused, sort of. which we will be streaming Fortnite again very soon. We'll apply the scale on this guy, which is going to affect our bevels some. But if you're ever getting weird insets, like let's say I don't know, let's say the scale in the Y is offset, and then you inset it, you're going to get weird results. So before you inset things, make sure you apply the scale. We will bring this guy in some. And then since these are parts that are supposed to rotate, we don't want to bevel these inner edges. And then let's connect this. So this joint right here is connected there, which means this one needs to be connected around this side, which I think means we can take this guy and scale him down a little bit. He doesn't need to be that huge. And then we can also scale him inward a little bit. Connection there. Which it's already matched up. Ah, shit. We'll just hide it. Nobody knows about it. It doesn't hurt anybody. And then we can take these faces and bring them in some. And then add areas for wires to connect. Like I've said before on this stream, I like to give everything function when I'm modeling stuff, like what is the purpose of this piece that I'm adding, which joints for robots are specifically important, but since this is a sci-fi game, shit just kind of has to look cool. Alright, same thing we've been doing for the other joints. We'll rotate this guy up 90 degrees, connect him, and then we'll bring him down here. We'll just connect these at the base, sort of like this, and then maybe we'll add like an outer ring or something so it makes more sense. Which, let's go ahead and hide everything except these. And we'll take this guy and scale and give him some volume. Yeah, the plan is to play Fortnite tomorrow during the Super Bowl because I'm not watching football. It's not my thing. I do some C++, like the Steam leaderboards in the game had to be C++. I made the game is completely 100% me working on it. The next game I'm working on, I actually have a team, which will be very nice. But I also use Unreal Engine's proprietary scripting language called Blueprint, which is completely node-based. Which, if you're not familiar with nodes, you might be. If we were to add a new material here, this is what nodes look like. So we have a diffuse. And if we do a test render here, if we add a glossy and we mix those like that, and maybe make that like 0.1. So now we have like a nice reflective material. That's a node-based system. It's all nodes, and that's what Unreal's coding looks like for the most part, which is really cool. It makes it really artist-friendly. Because I am by no means a master programmer. I'm getting better at C++, but Blueprint is very convenient. Okay, so now we have some nice connections there. We might even add a stabilization ring. Again, give objects purpose. And for that, we'll just use a torus. And we definitely do not need that many vertices, probably 16 on the major axis. And then we'll just do 8 on that axis. And then we'll put him at 0 on the X, so he intersects those, and that'll stabilize. Which, since it's a game, again, doesn't matter a whole lot. It's just nice to have stuff that looks like it has a purpose. Okay, not looking too shabby. He's eventually going to need some cannons on his shoulders and stuff to shoot bombs at the player. And I'm thinking that this right here could be like a laser emitter. Which, I don't want it to look too sexual. We'll just add a particle system or something there when he's shooting lasers. Or he could shoot lasers out of his eyes. I don't know. I can figure that out later when I'm in the animation stage. But this is how big he's going to be relative to the player, which is kind of cool. Let's add some space for intersection for these pneumatic cylinders here. Just because detail looks nice. And then we can bevel these edges. Take this and move it up some so it actually collides. And that'll look a lot nicer. We have some nice paneling on the arms, but I think there's potentially some more room for detail on the arms. I'll be thinking about that. Let's just go ahead and see what happens if we add some cannons to his shoulders. Which, these are actually going to have to be relatively small, because a bomb is only about as big as your fist, so I guess this is about the right size for the back of it. We'll scale it down for the front a little bit. But shoulder-mounted cannons should be kind of neat. So we'll inset that there, bring this out a little bit. I'm actually going to bring in the bombs, just so we have a reference size. Assets, enemies, punch bomb, object, bomb. So that's its regular size. In the game, they're scaled up by a factor of 2. So we need to make the hole big enough for this. Which, that's good to know that the cannons can be bigger. Because big badass cannons are hella cooler than skimpy little ones. I think we'll make this the mounting plate, so we'll center this. Scale this in just a little bit, just to make just enough room for the bombs, and set it, and then bring that in as far as we can, just to make it darker when there's lighting involved. Nobody's ever going to see the back of these, but just in case, I'm going to add some stuff. And then I think we can bring this in some, extrude it, bring it out some, and then scale it in some to add like a cool hard edge to that. We're going to want to put this on a rotating pivot, I think, so he can rotate towards the player, but it'll probably need to be a ball joint. We'll just do a magical ball joint so it can always point towards the player. We know it's big enough, we can put this on our garbage layer. Alright, then we'll add a connection here. If you snap your 3D cursor to an area and then you add stuff, it'll add it where you put your 3D cursor, which is, I've always found really useful. Not a lot of videos go over 3D cursor stuff with Blender, but there are a lot of neat tricks you can pull off with it. So that'll be a nice little mounting area for it. Let's figure out how our ball joint's going to work. Probably want to inset this just so it looks cooler. Delete it. And we have 16 verts there. So I'm going to add a sphere that is also 16. And 8. Scale it down to where it matches, which we can use snapping for this. Snapping is right here. It's the magnet tool. Don't turn the magnet on, just hold control to snap, but we can snap to vertex. So now it matches up perfectly. We can delete these faces, select both of these edges and remove doubles. And that'll get rid of 16 vertices, which means these are now connected. Then, since these are flipped, we can fix the normals. Smooth it out. And now we have room for a ball joint. This is a little bit in the way. And it's intersecting some, so we will move it up a little bit. But since there's going to be a ball in there, nobody's ever going to know if it intersects. Which means we can move the cannons up even a little bit more. We accidentally offset it on the X, and we're going to mirror this across, so we'll fix that. Then we will copy our sphere to make our actual ball joint. So we can duplicate it, Shift-D, scale it -1, and then bring it down and snap it in place, and that'll give us a sphere. Yep, it is definitely a sphere. It's a polygonal sphere, but it'll work for our purposes. We can scale it down a little bit so it fits in the hole a little bit better. But there is our ball joint. Then, so it'll actually be a decent mount, we can delete these faces. Extrude those. And then make it... It looks like the normals are still flipped. Oh, we have some doubles there. That's what's going on. So if we set that sharp, and we set that sharp, it'll look cooler. Make the bevels even tinier. Again, the whole point of having the bevels in place is just so they catch the light nicely. This will still rotate if we scale it out to match. Like we can... Yeah, so if we rotate the ball around that center, it'll still match a decent amount, like enough to point in the general direction of the players. And if it collides a little bit, nobody's gonna sue me. But we will bring this in some, just so there's a little bit more rotation room. And then we'll bring this up a tiny bit and just add a cylinder joint. Like so. And connect it. And connect it. And make it look like it has connections between a metal rod of some sort. And we'll go ahead and bevel those. And smooth it all out. So the reason things look a little bit funny up here is just because I have viewport ambient occlusion on, which is why you see the faceting. That will not be a thing in the game. To save space on our UV sheet later, we want to make sure the intersections are as far down as possible. Okay, so we have our nice ball joint for the cannons. We can add some stabilizing connections here just for extra detail. but cool. Since this is centered, we can mirror it across. Although, maybe we put bombs on one shoulder and lasers on the other shoulder to break up the symmetry. I have a general idea of what the boss is going to do, but a lot of what I do for the game design is model something cool with potential purposes, and then figure it out later. Like, when you're developing and designing stuff, there's always going to be room to add cooler stuff later. So we'll stabilize this connection a little bit by making it a little bit bigger. And bringing it down some. And then we'll add some vertical lines into this design too, because right now it just looks like a wedding cake with the cannon on top. Surprise, surprise. Happy wedding. So I'm thinking we can add some extrusions here, which we don't need to actually extrude into the mesh. We can just add new mesh objects. So if we add a cube, scale it down, bring it up, make a cool design, make it sort of match other stuff that I've done in the game. Maybe something like that as a start. And then these faces down here are completely unnecessary. Nobody's ever going to see those in 5 trillion years. Hey, what's up, Jaden? I'm working on my VR game. It's been in early access for about a year. Oh man, Atticus, character work is so difficult. I did a lot of characters for short films in college, and getting that edge flow and stuff right, that is like one of the biggest challenges. If you're starting 3D modeling, definitely start with hard surface stuff, because it'll be a lot more rewarding in the short term. Yeah, so this is what I'm working on, Jaden. It's the boss robot for my VR game that you're gonna be on this platform in the center of the map, and he's gonna like shoot bombs and stuff at you, and he's gonna try to punch you, and you're gonna have to punch his fists back at him. Is the end goal. We will work on it and develop it, and if that mechanic doesn't work out, then I'll figure something else out. We're gonna Alt-D this, which is it makes an instance, so if I scale this, it'll scale all of them. Which I think that looks like a much cooler cannon than it did a few seconds ago. I think we can even add one more ring at 45 more degrees. That's not too bad. Add just a tiny bit more detail in the back here. Oh, 2D I could never personally get into, but I have so much respect for the people that do it, because that stuff is difficult. Maybe even bring these forward a little bit so they... Nope. That is not a good idea. But we can take this and add one more extrusion. Yeah, okay, so if we bring that out, maybe over that, so we have like a lip. I think that'll look cooler. I can't click on your name from the live chat here, but I will definitely check out your channel. Which you can, I think you're allowed, like I just turned off blocking links I think in the chat, so if you want to link your channel you can. I would love to see some good 2D animation. Alright, then maybe this will be like an LED light ring sort of thing that lights up to warn the players they're about to be shot. Which these shoulders can also rotate a little bit. When I animate it, I can rig that up potentially. Let's make the neck not intersecting there. I think the easiest way to do that's just going to be to cut this out. Ah, it can't be. Damn it. Maybe try sharing it without the HTTP and stuff. I don't know how to make it so people can share stuff. I haven't. I'm not a stream god. Okay, so then that connects nicely. Oh, what else to add? I'm just sort of winging it. I'm gonna look at some other robots, for example. Like one of the ones that I really liked was from Terminator. This just has so much detail, that's really cool. I think we can probably add some asymmetric detail here. Of course, a lot of smaller details like these rings and stuff, that'll all be added in texture work. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I will definitely check out your channel. Like I said, I have so much admiration for people that do 2D animation. I'm looking forward to that. Alright, so we have some cannons that can shoot stuff. In terms of nuts and bolts and stuff, we'll add that in texturing just because we don't need the extra vertices. The back, nobody's ever going to see. In terms of the front, I'm starting to get happy with this. Maybe split this up some. Which nobody is really going to be looking down here either. This is probably going to be positioned even a little bit lower. So this will probably be the view. Which most people are probably only going to, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to that down there. No, they're going to be paying attention to stuff up here. So again, we haven't done any textures yet. That's all going to happen in Substance Painter. Maybe we can unmirror stuff and start breaking up some symmetry. I don't want to get to unwrapping in this video. That's going to be a whole stream unto itself just because it's such a long, complicated process. Need to fix this up. And this is missing a bevel. This is going to be like, he's going to be sort of old and rusted, and these are just going to be interesting panel sort of things. We can detail up the hands. I'm here for a little bit longer until I have to go. Like, I think this edge could be split. And made to overlap. Which, that made me realize that this is completely unnecessary. Then we can rotate that up a little bit just to make it look more interesting. Maybe drag this corner. Three vids are story time animations. The tests are real ones. One of them are horrible. How many videos do you have on your channel? So if we hide everything but this, we can dirty it up a little bit. Like make it look like he's falling apart, kind of. And same goes for this. Beautiful. Detail that nobody will ever notice. Hey, 9 or 10's not bad. That's a start. I think we can bring the finger joints up a little bit just so we can add some cool connections there. This is unnecessary. And I think we can take these. Delete those. Add some edge loops for the connections. And that'll look a lot cooler. Because again, nothing can occupy the same space in real life. Which, that's intersecting now. I'm not too happy about that. But there's an easy way to fix that. Just do that. Wonderful. And we can probably even take the solidify thickness down some to fix a lot of issues. Otherwise this is just going to be a headache later. Good enough. My boss always told me 80% is usually good enough to get you where you need to be. So if you spend your whole life trying to get things to 100%, you'll never finish anything. And we all know, as artists, how things go. With wanting to finish things, there's always something you can fix or improve. You've just got to ship it at some point. Actually, in the first interview I ever had for the job that I have right now, which this is a personal project that I'm working on. I work full-time in marketing. First interview I had for that job, he told me, I was in high school. I've had the same job my entire life pretty much, but he told me that if anybody ever asks you what you are as an artist, you're a salesman, because if you can't sell your work, you're worthless. In terms of financial gain, I guess there's plenty of like I guess there's plenty of emotional fulfillment and stuff in just making stuff for fun. That down, and that looks cooler. Neat. I think just for mirror's sake, we will delete those vertices. Which, that's incorrect. And we can detail up the hand a little bit. Let's add some like neat paneling for knuckles or something. And we'll solidify outwards, so we'll try to match this up as closely as possible. So then we'll go ahead and do the whole hard ops thing, just so we get the nice bevels once we solidify it. So now if we solidify, set the offset to 1, thicken it out a little bit like so, and then move that before the bevel, we have these nice beveled edges, which we'll apply the solidify before we apply the bevel, so we can bevel the corners too. And we'll thicken up the knuckles a little bit and add some more details. Maybe some giant screws or something. So these can definitely come out like so. And that'll give some nice knuckle detail. Which, this is going to be a gigantic pain to UV unwrap. Oh, I have made a nightmare for myself. And I think we can actually take these and extrude them under. I think that'll look a lot cooler. Consistent style. I don't know. My style tends to be pretty much the same for everything I do, no matter how much I try to change that. Like for this game, this specific game, the style is pretty much, I modeled one thing and then I try to just make sure everything looks similar. Because one of the biggest downfalls to indie games especially is they use the asset stores a lot, and I refuse to not make my own art for my game. Because consistency is definitely important. Figuring out how to be consistent, I guess, is a different challenge unto itself, but the style for this game specifically just sort of happened. Which, if anybody's curious, you don't have to click the link by any means or anything. But this is, I'm gonna ding in my chat. Not sure how far behind the stream is, but this is the game. That I've been working on for like a year and a half. It's a stupid simple arcade game where you punch bombs before they blow up, but it's in VR, so it's good exercise. A lot of people have been using it for fitness, which is kind of cool. Let's give him some interesting knuckles. Or at least try. Oh, yeah, that's one of the big problems with working in the VR market. Nobody really has VR yet. So, game has definitely not been profitable, but it's been a really good learning experience for the next project, which I'm going to be working with a team called Theory Studios, and we're going to make a VR multiplayer shooter that's all sci-fi and stuff, so that'll be kind of neat. I'm going to take a page out of the book from work, where they have screw joints. And add some dividers here. A lot of people are against mesh intersections like this, but it's never really bothered me a whole lot. As long as it works and looks good in the game, that is all that matters. So let's see what this looks like on the robot, and to do that we have to add these to the group. I should probably rename the group to fists or something that actually makes sense. Oh, it's looking cooler. I'm happy with that. Yeah, I can deal with that. Gonna need to make these connect. So I'm just gonna take all these edges and extrude them straight down. And then we'll go ahead and do a C-sharpen, which is the hard ops beveling thing. And make those harder. And then we'll offset these vertically so they actually match with the knuckle piece that we added. I should probably rotate them. That would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it? And I don't know if you all watch Bad Lip Reading, but I was watching his new video this morning from the NFL, and then I clicked on to a link to one of his other videos, which was the Trump Christmas song, and now that is completely stuck in my head. Hilarious video, though. Much better. Let's detail up the fingers a little bit. Which the robot hands that I was using as reference were... Nope. That's anatomy. Yeah, here you go. These were the ones I was using as reference. Oh, they had some cool knuckle ideas. Bad Lip Reading is so funny. That's one of my favorite channels on YouTube. Also, the Game of Thrones one. Good times. Can tighten this all up a little bit. Make it look like someone who actually knew what they were doing built this robot. The Star Wars ones were pretty great. I remember watching all the Star Wars bad lip reading ones that he did before the Force Awakens. How did you feel about The Last Jedi? Because it's gotten some pretty mixed reviews. I personally liked it, but some of my friends will always disagree. Let's, I feel like this feels really blank. I can always just add texture detail later. I think we can start to clean this up a little bit in terms of poly count. A lot of people will tell you that triangles are bad. I'm going to tell you right here and right now that triangles only matter for surfaces that are going to deform. Like on an organic character's face, you do not want triangles. On mechanical things, they really don't matter. Oh no, the hand on the left was reference that I found on Google for general joints that I liked. When I start working on something, I just find all sorts of reference images for things that I like, since I don't have a concept artist, and then I take some ideas from the reference, like the joints. I liked the boxy fingers, so I did that. But then I did some different things. I wish mine looked that cool. They have some nice details there. Oh, there's my HDRI image. I'll just leave that up for now because it's pretty scenery. Now the question is, what do I want to do here? And maybe it's alright. I think we can connect these edges. To hide the connection of the cylinder there. I don't know. I just sort of started working on this game by myself, and then that's sort of how it ended up. I don't work in teams a lot because in my past experience with working in teams, it has not been very pleasant. Actually, we probably don't need this connection because the arm connects there. My bad. Generally, people haven't been reliable in the past. Like, I know reliable people exist, but if I want to get something done and get it done fast, I tend to just do it myself. So in terms of reference, I just kind of find stuff that I like and mix and match. I feel like that's pretty blank still. And maybe some wires sticking out on the top here. That'd be kind of neat. So we can add like a nice metal connection of some sort. Not too much. We don't want them to see too much into the empty arms. But this will allow us to add some cylinders. Some cool wire connections or metal connections. I guess these would be more like metal crossbeams that connect the panels just being revealed from poor craftsmanship. Yeah, for the next project, since I'm working in a team, we will have concept artists though, which will be a nice change of pace. Hopefully. Yeah, so then if we add a few more of these, just duplicate that right along. Sometimes going into perspective mode can be helpful. Usually I work in orthographic, but it can be helpful to go into perspective just to get all up on things and see where they're connecting. And these cylinders could probably be even half the vertices that they are now. Oh well. And then we'll add a broken one, which will, I guess, be the reason for this starting to separate. Bevel that a little bit. Probably doesn't need to come out quite so much. So we'll just take this guy, and to make it look even more torn up, we'll just drag it in some with soft selection. And we can make both of the middle ones. Yeah, let's break both of the middle ones and then bring these edges connected more. So we can just have this one sticking out a little bit, maybe veer to the left. We'll move this guy over, and then we'll split the middle panel. And then on this side, we're not going to have those. Let's go ahead and break up the symmetry, because I'm pretty happy with the general shapes. So I will apply the mirror. And then we will differentiate sides. Just break it up. Because one of the biggest tells that something is CG, which obviously this is CG because it's a giant robot and it doesn't look real, but one of the biggest tells for CG is things that are perfectly symmetrical. So it's important to break things up. Then we can break this one up. Make sure none of that's intersecting too much. And they don't have to be super different, they just have to be different enough. Back, nobody's gonna see. Maybe instead of this one overlapping on this side, we'll overlap the other one. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. I think the chest can be 2 pieces. And that way we can show more of the interior. And then these guys we can join and mirror across. Which I'm thinking, the more I think about it, the more I want the cannons to be asymmetrical. Have one that sweeps a laser across the field and one that shoots bombs. So let's go ahead and model for that purpose. Or 2 that shoot bombs, and then use something else to sweep lasers across the field. Because I'm going to involve the same general elements that I've been using throughout the game, which are lasers and bombs appearing and being shot at you. So, because it's good cardio and good exercise for people to have to duck under lasers while they're focusing on punching things. So maybe I'll have dual lasers come out of his eyes and focus right past the platform that the player's on. So he'll just sweep lasers from his eyes across like that. Or maybe even from the top piece, because this is going to be a glowing light. I think I'm going to make the eyes solid white, sort of Iron Giant style. Make them all soulless. And he'll be a lot darker once he's textured and stuff. I'll go ahead and take my temporary reflective material and turn that down some. Yeah. Oh, I can't render, I guess, on live stream. High CPU use detected. May experience performance issues. My bad. Alright, I'll go ahead and work on the legs a little bit. I don't have much longer to stream. Probably going to go until 5 or a little bit after 5. That'll give me some time to start to work on the legs a little bit. Because nobody's really going to see them, but it's still important to detail them up some, so if someone does decide to look down. Make these look sort of wrecked. Nobody's going to see the back. We don't need to add the extra faces there, especially on the legs. And we should add some feet. And I think we can bulk up his legs a little bit just to give room for the connections for the joints, which we still have to do. Yeah, okay, and then let's take the joints and give the things an actual area to connect to. I should have been extruding both of these at the same time to get the same width. Scale that out. And then we'll add some more Bezier curves, because they're the easiest way to get sort of 90-degree pipes. Make sure nobody sees inside the legs, just because I don't want to have to deal with all that detail. And the game engine also doesn't want to have to deal with that detail. For VR titles, I don't know if any of you are familiar with VR development, but you have to hit 90 frames per second, which is absurd. And not only 90 frames per second once. It has to render the image twice, once for each eye, and render that 90 frames per second, which is insane. It's for crazy people. Really put that up in there to hide it. Out of context, that would sound really dirty. Make a nice connection. Up the resolution, down the resolution. Oh, definitely down the resolution. Even lower the depth a little bit just to... or bring this guy out some. Just because that is awkward. Put that right in there. I can actually scale this guy down, which we're going to do some modifications once I convert it to mesh anyway. Now they actually look like joints. Cool. And then we'll scale this out. Or, I guess we can just connect stuff to the outside of the wheel. Like so. To sort of connect that joint. Which we're going to have to bring this panel out some to make room for it. Which is totally fine because it'll look cooler. And then we'll do the exact same thing on the back. And we'll bring this out some to compensate. So that'll give us some nice joints there. And we will apply the location and mirror it across. And then we have to connect these joints. We do not need layer 1. We're going to put all this stuff on layer 2. So these two joints are already connected. We can actually bring this joint out a little bit further, which will A, make it look cooler, and just for the extra gap, and B, it'll give us more room to work with there. Okay, so this joint rotates that one. This one is going to have to be connected to this joint in here. So you're going to have to figure out a clever way to do that. Which could even involve just bringing this down. And adding a connection here. So this will rotate around this little piece. This will technically be the piece that rotates. We're not actually going to separate the pieces, but then we can connect this piece to down here. Which will add a nice connection like that. And detail it up some. But let's go ahead and work on these connections right here. And set that some. Extrude it, scale it on the y-axis. And then make it beveled. And that'll give us some space to play around with the Bezier curves here in just a second. Which we're going to want to bring this up because we're going to have another cylinder in here. And an invisible cylinder that nobody's ever going to see. We're going to do our nice 90-degree angle. Corner piece. If I do it out here, it makes my life easier later. Then we're going to take him and scale him down and just put him right in there. Like so. And bring this one right inside. And make it thick. Like so. Which, if anybody watching has any Blender questions or anything, I'm happy to answer questions and stuff. I've been using Blender for, geez, probably more than 10 years now. Which I know, why am I not better, right? But that's not bad. Oh, we probably want to put those in the same object. So I'm pretty much a walking Blender billboard, so if anybody seriously has any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up. Or just ask in the chat. Alright, we have those all nice and connected. I'll say that's passable. I feel like this area right here, when we turn around it, is pretty thin. I think it'll be alright for now. And let's add one more cylinder in here for these to connect to. So we will hide you. Bring you down. Move you right inside the pelvis area. Not bad. That fits pretty well. Let's get all of our connections and stuff just so we can just focus on that. Then we can take these beautiful joints and scale them in. Take you, inset you past the joints. Oh, I only did one side. I feel dumb. We can get these a little bit closer to the edges, I think. Inset you past the joints. Scale you out a little bit to add a nice looking connection there, and then bevel. And then we can connect you to this guy. So now we need you, and you. This is completely alright, nobody's ever gonna see that. I'm probably being blacklisted from every game company in the world for saying shit like that. Oh, nobody's ever gonna see that, that's totally fine. Blacklisted. I think we can actually just get rid of this face altogether. And add another bezier. And this one is going to be a 90-degree angle up. But that's alright. I don't want to work at a AAA game studio. I would much rather work on fun indie titles, which is what I'm doing anyway. Because I doubt EA is ever going to listen to this, but they were kind of a bag of dicks for what they did to Battlefront 2. And then we will mirror you. Yeah, it's looking kind of robotic and neat, I guess. I wonder what happens if we just hide this. I kind of like the paneling. Oh, hey, what's up, Toby? Yeah, I got rid of the smile because he looked super happy. I was not a fan of that. Plus, we have hands now. I'm only going to work on this for a few more minutes before I have to go to a family dinner thing. But this has been fun working on. I think we can add some connections to this pipe. Make that look nicer. More believable. Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. It's certainly getting there. Eventually gonna have to get onto textures, and I'm not looking forward to UV unwrapping this beast. Probably gonna have to put like the legs, or the lower half, upper body, and arms and head on separate texture sheets. I feel like these cannons would just topple over. I might need to add an extra hinge joint or something for stabilization to be more believable. And I think these pipes, I wish they could be bigger, but the panels aren't thick enough. Huh. I think we can split this up some. Right now I'm just looking for areas that feel dull or blank, and I'm just trying to detail stuff up and make sure all the hinge joints and stuff are in place. Which sometimes figuring out where to add detail can be a challenge. But just find the blank areas that look really boring and fix it. At least that's what I've been sort of doing. I'm by no means an expert at modeling robots. If I was working on an organic cartoon character, that would be a completely different story. Like, I could do one of those pretty fast. But robots, haven't done many robots in my life. Oh, we can give him some feet, though. I bet he would appreciate that. So let's sort of give some room for the feet, and then we'll start with a cube. And he'll have like bell-bottom pants that sort of overlap his boxy robot feet. And these feet don't need to be gigantic by any means. Let's just put them right here, and then we'll mess with the leg paneling in a bit once we actually have something that looks halfway decent. Normally, I would be really careful about the topology and stuff that I'm doing for feet, especially if they had to deform, but these are just boxy robot feet that aren't really going to move. He's going to pretty much stand in place. He's not scared of us as the player. He's a giant-ass robot. But we will make them generally the right shape to be feet. And I feel like we can have some shoe area here. We can bring this in, bevel this down. Feet have always given me trouble on things in general. Feet are not easy. But these just have to look halfway decent. 80%. Going for 80%. And I think we can take these edges, move them down, and then extrude these ones up. And we'll have a magical ball joint in there. Add 2 edge loops here so we can bring this in some. This will be the awkward connection. Which anybody who is a modeler knows what I'm talking about, where you have edges that connect like that. It's just so awkward. We want these to be nice smooth panels with hard edges. Finish that off like that. Then, I think what we can do is make this out of metal panels, sort of like everything else. Which will give us a little bit more room for creativity too. So then we can solidify it. Make these nice and thick-ish. And then move it before the bevel. And then we can take that beveling way down. Move this up to see some actual panel separation here. Make them look all beat to hell. Maybe split that up. I have a Facebook message. Oh man. Have a friend on the way to my house. So I gotta go here shortly. We'll just get the basics of these feet knocked out. Again, these don't have to be anything special, because most people aren't even going to see them. Oh, I thought I got all of them. Edge split. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking to do. And then we can edge split right here too. And scale these ones out. Now we're getting some cool robot feet. think we can take this whole piece and split it. And then bring these edges out. Like so. And then I think we can take this one and bring it in. And then take the whole leg piece and bring it down to match. We're going to have to do some manual vertex tweaking here. And I think we can take this whole front part and move it back a little bit, give it some more shape. And potentially even bring these down some. Give the foot more natural foot shape. So let's try to select this whole string of vertices in one go. And bring it down. Bring it down. Top 10 things you would never say to a DJ. Looks like I got most of the stuff. Bring you down too. And I think we can bring this in some. So we'll just select these ones and turn on soft select. And bring it in to make it more foot shaped. And then we can probably split these edges. Oh, this is such a model. This is going to be such an unwrapping disaster. But it'll look cool. That's a problem for future Chris. And then we will mirror you. We have some decent feet in place. Alright, and with that, I've got to go get ready for family dinner thing. So, we will say this is where we're leaving it off tonight. Thank you all for watching, and in the future, if anybody has any Blender questions or anything, feel free to hit me up online or offline. I love all things related to Blender. Other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Peace out.